Why has it taken me so long to make another BasedScape?
Why?
What on earth is going on with this substandard YouTube channel? Preservation has how many people on?
Yeah, look at that. Look at that.
Get from behind
Look at that.
And you can't do it.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
RSC is back and here to stay. Haven't you heard?
Do you think that I'm retarded?
Hey guys, you remember Classic? I'm ready to talk vanilla, I've decided, today. And for the first time, we'll talk preservation too. So let's go deep. Let's do it. It's BasedScape, episode 9. Welcome back for a special year in review. Yep, that's right. It's been one whole year on YouTube, just about, and I wanted to thank all of you for watching because my God, does this show go off the rails from time to time. It's great to be here again and talk some shop. I've been putting this episode off for a while now, and I figured it's past due. There are many more eyes on this channel since the last episode, and guess what? I'm not going to change what I'm doing. I'm not going to try to please everyone. That's impossible. So this show has got to be for the small core audience that started all of this. It has to be for them. So if you consider yourself a vanilla diehard, then thank you and welcome. Since the last episode, so much has changed. We had a Christmas and New Year's events. A supreme uptick of RSC players in the last few months. Returning players. It would behoove me not to talk about it all. I've been watching in the background as all of this has went on, but this last winter was pretty noteworthy as a whole for RSC. As far as vanilla goes, we now have an EXE installer for you Windows babes. I think the Discord mods were so sick of getting installation questions that this one was bound to happen at one point. It was just Microsoft Edge stealing your jar file association. Oh, that's all it was. So, shout out Jarfix. Jarfix has saved so many countless lives. There's been more than a few new faces over the winter, and I've got to be honest, this last month or so has probably been the least that I've played since I started, and I won't even pretend like I'm keeping up with them all. I see you out there in the global chat whenever I do log on. We had a guy retire at the end of the year at my job who was there for like nearly 40 years, and a lot of the work just got passed down because no business ever has hired in advance when someone retires because that's the sensible thing to do, right? So life has been hectic a little. So I used to play at work quite a bit too, so that's also sort of come to a screeching halt. In other news, I have a doppelganger. Shout out Mezzacaldon. I ran into this person in game and they said that they watched the channel and, oh, by the way, designed their character to look exactly like mine. The rune beard thing was popular back in the early days of Classic, and I really don't, I don't see a problem in bringing back that trend. So shout out Mezzacaldon and rune beards assemble. I also wanted to say, shout out some people. Lone Lamer still killing it. I think he told me he's 200 or 250 days online, I think. I think it's somewhere in there. Bonkers. So he's still on, still killing it. Danny is killing it. He's going for flats. He might actually have it by the time I put this video out. So, yeah, shout out Danny. Almost all 99s. Duke Master is killing it. That guy will be your new number 2 on the high score board, if not your number 1 someday. I think that's I would put a bet on it. I remember Duke when he was just a noob trying to get into the Champs Guild with to get a black large helmet, and look at him now. So massive props to Duke Master. The gains are off the charts, and anyone who can make it past Clavier on that high score list is dedicated as shit in my book. So yeah, I watched the high scores, and there was a time not long ago that the first page of the scoreboard was so much easier to get on. It was something like 1150 overall. It might have even been lower, and you'd be there, but not anymore. People have been picking it up a lot lately. Even spotted Day One out there and on more, so shout out Day One. And with that, I wanted to take just a minute and talk about 80 crafting. 80 crafting feels like a 99. I feel like I've put more time and effort into 80 crafting than I have 96 thieving by a long shot. That video that I did on crafting methods really blew up, and I don't know who shared it or how it got that many views. Perhaps YouTube heated it. Perhaps it was the tags, I don't know, but it was seen more than any other video that I've done to date. It did unusually well, and I am very grateful to all of the new viewers and subscribers. I've actually been mulling over a few ideas for guides, but I feel like I'm probably not the one to make them, or that they're just so painfully obvious that I wouldn't want to bore my subscriber base to death with them. So if I do another one, it's going to have to be a good idea for sure. I would hate to flood this channel with tons of beginner guides and shit that seasoned players don't want to watch. Beast Fable released a range training guide, which was great. It's like a prime example. It's better structured than something that I could do, and I will wholeheartedly admit that, and more clear and concise and a little bit less autistic. So yeah, I may never do any more guides myself. I don't want to say never, but it's got to be good. I was never one to play by guides or look at them unless I was severely stuck on something in game, like a quest. Yeah, one day I may do it like a tank mage guide, sort of an all-in-one with a recording of the mage arena. I've always wanted to do that, but I've never gotten to it. I haven't decided. That's probably it, though. I guess I feel a bit differently with RuneScape Classic as opposed to other games because I've sank so much time into it. So I'm really only interested in the end game and alternative methods, and let's face it, that the game is not really that deep. Also, I've never looked at it like, well, what's the fastest way to 1782, or what skills should you train the first, With an MMO, I always say just dive in and see if you like it first, and then worry about the details as you go on. I've tried several other MMOs in the last year, and I can honestly say that none of them really interested me enough to keep going. Guild Wars 2 was close. It was pretty sweet, but it didn't last. So I feel like the most useful RuneScape information that I've ever received came from just talking to other players in game, or the Discord. That will get you much further than scouring the internet and archive.org and 20-year-old guides on fucking Salmonius. But yeah, from this point on, I have to address the elephant in the room, and that is the massive spike in players that OpenRSC just saw in the winter that was 2022 into 2023. There's a lot here, but I feel like anyone new to this or out of the loop should be, at the very least informed by what I have to say. So where to begin? 25 Buttholes made a popular video that turned into a little mini-series of RSC content. That One Dad Dude, I think is his name, made another video. In fact, he may have been the first in the wave of videos and channels promoting RSC, and the titles have been like, I'm paraphrasing here, but RuneScape Classic is back. And the server that they've promoted is OpenRSC, also known as RSC Preservation. I feel like there's been a slight trickling into vanilla as well. It's hard to tell. I haven't been playing enough to really have a grip on it. But I'm sure a few have trickled in just by way of proxy. I've gained at least 35 subs on here since, all of this started. So I hope you're all out there playing and not just watching, but I get it. But seriously, what are my thoughts on OpenRSC? The server that got 100% of the free promotion with this wave of support. I've never really mentioned them on the channel other than 2001scape, the video that I did, and if I have, it was in a positive light, and I even did the Halloween scythe event and a couple of wilderness-only hardcore Iron Man videos over there. So let's start with the positives, because there are many. They have a nice website. They have a very nice Discord. I like the way that's set up. They have various options, as far as servers go, other than the standard 1x. They even have dedicated botting servers, which is kind of unheard of. You got multiple clients and ways to play the game. I think one thing worthy of mention here is there's brain power in the room, and you can't deny it. Just look at the article that Log wrote about how they fixed the duping that was going on, and that will tell you all you need to know. Yes, they had a duping problem, if you didn't know. The servers went down for like 5 days, something like that. But it's fixed. The people running the show there are as smart as a whip and well-intentioned, and they do it all for free, so it's commendable. So hats off to them. If you didn't know, the code for the game is on GitHub. RSC is basically abandonware, and this is their whole spiel. Keep it open source and free for all. And I've talked positively about preservation in the past. I have an account there. It's neglected. It's not what I play all the time, but I'm familiar with the server. I'm no stranger to the days when they had 5 to 10 people online, just like Vanilla, and we were both dwarfed by RSC emulation and even Dynasty for that matter. The main reason I never went very far with my preservation account is very simple. It's the movement. I could never get over the input lag. It is markedly higher than Vanilla, and it feels like a ping issue, but it's definitely not. So for this reason alone, I picked Vanilla over preservation early on, in the first week. For all of the bells and whistles that they have, like RSC Plus, external bank sorting and management tools, I couldn't get over the movement and lag. What feels like lag. They even have a first-person mode now, which is freaking really cool. The only bad part about that first-person mode is that you can't skill or do combat, which sucks. I wish they would really get that working. But yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it and walking around the absolutely mobbed map. Shit, it really blew up over there. They even have live maps on the site to see where people are on the map, which is, innovative. I'm pretty sure it excludes the wilderness too, so that's cool. But as far as Vanilla goes, look, I've covered this before ad nauseum. If you're new here, I'm not here to sell you on Vanilla. I have no stake in the game or a real horse in the race. Truth be told, I actually like when a server isn't absolutely loaded with players fighting for resources, so I'd like it to stay relatively small. At this stage in the game, it still feels like an exclusive club on Vanilla, and that's kind of cool to me. I mean, I'm only one guy. If I were running OpenRSC right now, I would do 3 things proactively to try to save your reputation as of late. Number 1, I would lighten up. It's very simple. I would lighten up on the banning and muting of players and the overall attitude that everyone is easily offended, because this only represents a very, very small fraction of the community as a whole, which is already absurdly small. If people aren't openly cheating, then stop looking for reasons to ban or mute, because your mods' reputations are starting to precede them. People talk. And 2, I would unlock the RSC Reddit. It's not helping anyone grow in the state that it's in, and I'm pretty sure that you run that too. I can't prove it. I only heard it through the grapevine, so yeah, open that bitch back up again. I don't use Reddit unless it pops up in my search results when I'm looking for an answer, but a lot of people do, and to have your posts locked is just, I don't know. It's not helping anything grow. And lastly, a little bit controversial, but lastly, you are gender neutral by default in RSC+. It changes gender to body type in the appearance screen for character creation. So right off the bat, we're modernized. And it's just one of those reasons that the game is characterized as being, quote, 98% authentic in the description. Of course, the main one is global chat, but no one wants to get rid of that, assuming that the bubble burst and we're back to 10 or less concurrent players online. Now, I don't have a copy of RSC Plus from before OpenRSC got their hands on it and began to modify it, but it's there. And you, the player, should know that it's there and turned on by default. Look, I'll just put it bluntly. You, the player, currently don't have an option to play Classic the way that it was and the way that it was intended, because all private servers put their own mark on it in one way or another, and Vanilla is certainly no exception. Whether it's options in RSC+, the game's drop table as a whole, global chat, whatever it may be, they all vary to a degree and differ slightly from the original. So you have to decide which one you can live with if you want to sink a serious amount of time into it. I would suggest doing your homework first. I can't pretend that I didn't see the whole hashtag Free Zephyr thing go down. I'm not involved in it myself, but I got the gist by watching the video and then reading the juiciest comment section ever. Look, censorship and the threat of banning is one thing, but it's sort of the, part of the big picture nowadays, isn't it? It's people's feelings getting hurt and game makers trying to please everyone who cries about it. It's near ruined an entire generation of games, and then we go on to movies. It bleeds into everything. That's why we're seeing not just players getting muted or banned, shunned, or whatever you want to call it, but we are seeing changes being made to the core of the game, like a genderless character creation. I feel that these two things are one and the same. I've even heard the argument that it makes dialogue in games easier because there's less to record, and that's a bunch of bullshit. I just don't buy it as a reason that everything is becoming gender neutral, or whatever the term is today. The goalpost moves, and I'm done trying to keep track of it. And even if that, doesn't bug you, one guy in the comments section said he was banned for having the word poop in his name. I don't know, man. To me, it just seems like it's being over-moderated by the Fragility Squad. You need to lighten up. Go back to the first thing I said. It's lighten up. Just let people play the game, ban the botters, and let it be. Especially while there are people who still want to play on your server. And also, why would anyone feel they have to make their server and their Discord and Reddit and other servers' Discords their safe space, taking into account things that people said in the past or didn't say or do? I'll never know. Discord actually vowed to do this exact same thing. A bloated Electron app vows to take what users say cross-platform into account. I'll pull up the headline. This was, I think, before the rumors of them being purchased by Microsoft, so maybe they were virtue signaling at the time, but I doubt it. It's time to get out of the way of your growing community and let it thrive. That's all you have to do. I sentence you all to 100 hours of community service whereby you spend the entire time in a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 lobby and embrace the gamer words being thrown at you, and then we'll see how edgy RuneScape memes are to you after that. And if mods start letting their emotions roll the day like a snowflake as time goes on, they're not going to have a player base much larger than 5 to 10 players unless popular YouTube channels shout them out like we just saw happen. I'm sorry, but I'm dying on the hill of free speech, and if my position is, that it's great that players have the option to go elsewhere, don't apologize to people ever for censoring you or threatening you with a ban for some stupid shit like that. Just go elsewhere and don't support it. Poop Guy, or whatever your name was. I want to know what we don't hear. What goes on in discussions behind the scenes? Like, has there ever been talk of removing fucking Romeo and Juliet quest? Because, hey, 9 out of 10 indoctrinated college kids say that it perpetuates the fucking cisgender normative relationship stereotype. There you go. You can rest assured that it has crossed somebody's mind or desk at 100%. I'm not trying to offend. I'm just reading between the lines here. I'm simply asking, where does it stop? It takes 5 years maybe to get an account to 1782. So where will we be by then? And, love preservation or hate it, it got all the recognition and the player uptick from these videos. And make no mistake, I'm glad to see that people still want to play this game. I just wish that they didn't have to deal with anything standing in the way of them simply enjoying it. Or the fragility that split the 1X community in half. There is so much more than this that meets the eye. I would love to have Zephyr and Fate weigh in on preservation one day on this channel. The door is always open. You don't run a server like Dynasty and be this fucking soft. I know that. So that's all I have on that. I guess I always thought RSC suddenly growing overnight would have went down in a completely different way. I always thought that it would be because of Jagex being Jagex, and they could be a micron away from ruining old school at any given second. So I always thought that a large chunk of players would be driven over from that and not YouTube channels, because Jagex has proven in the past that they've been more than capable. And if there is one thing that the RuneScape community as a whole can agree on, it's that they sure as hell aren't going to RuneScape 3. If my only option from old school were this, I would at least try Classic out. The game has changed so much in fundamental ways that since its inception, it's just you got to read a manual to learn how the hell smithing works in RuneScape 3. To me, it just looks like they tried to make RuneScape something that it's not, and even the graphics are kind of meh. I mean, the UI is terrible. It needs modded right off the bat, and I suggest you just play the 117 HD plugin on RuneLite if old school graphics bug you. Really, I give Jagex a lot of shit, but they've been better recently about listening to players and bringing in new skills. So I have to give them a little bit of credit on the old school side, but RS3 definitely ain't it, man. It's like old school with every new update is just slowly becoming RuneScape 4, molded by player backlash. I should be doing an update on my old school character at some point. I just haven't had the time and to get in there and really grind. I commit most of my time to vanilla, but we're getting there. Almost base 50s with all the quests complete. Like 750 overall I think I'm going for. I'm pretty close. Soon I'll have an old school part 2 if you were any one of those few select people waiting on it. So in closing, I just wanted to say that I'm proud of you all for hanging in there in this last year and watching this freaking channel. I know I can say some things that might rub people the wrong way, but it's coming from a good place. It might have come off as a little harsh, but I think it's the other way around. I don't think it's... The argument was made that these two servers were split apart because they can't coexist because one is toxic. I think it's the other way. I think one is very fragile. I think you're way too fragile. Because gamers are gamers, and they're going to say what they're going to say. And the only thing splitting them in half is this idea of I don't know, it's like Utopia RSC. And that's where we're going with it. The only way that a server can grow at this point is by word of mouth. So if you'd like to see Vanilla explode, then get out there and make some videos. Share some links, whatever you have to do. I have a pretty quick guide that I just made on how to record Classic. And if you have any questions, just message me on Discord. But yeah, I think we're gonna end it off with a little memorial here. This is so long overdue. It feels like this happened months ago, but we still got to do it. Yeah, the Wild Iron Memorial. RSC lost a real one. Join me in a moment of silence for the wilderness-only ultimate Iron Man. The only one I think ever made, maybe, on RSCVanilla. He died valiantly in pursuit of KBD in the Promised Land, and I think somewhere around combat level 60, maybe. Just bossing and building up his lone 30 inventory slots. If Mystery Box, aka Yo 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 on Discord, ever posts that series, I will share it right here in like a community post or something. I'll figure out a way to get the word out. You legend. Rest in peace and goodbye for now.